everybody. I guess we'll start out with just kind of the general question. Tell us what you're doing here today, why you decided to visit, and kind of what you learned.
Well, it's great to be here today. You know, in a district that we represent, our congressional district, ag is the #1 industry in my district. Ag's the #1 industry in the state of Illinois. I like to remind my friends from Chicago that. And being here today to talk about ag and some of the proactive work that our farmers are doing. To have this facility here today, to be here today to see this facility is really great for me to see what our farmers do in terms of safety when applying nutrients, when they're applying fertilizer, when they're working in the fields. This facility here today that helps train our farmers and also train people that work in agriculture. I don't think enough credit goes to the education that our farmers engage in, the proactive work that they're doing, and this is a great reflection of that. So to be here today to see the time and the effort and the commitment that goes in when they're applying fertilizer or nutrient or ammonia and nitrate into the ground, it's very, very impressive. And we've had strong yields this year in our fields during harvest. And again, the more we can promote our ag economy, the better. We have some of the best farmers in the world here in central and west central Illinois, some of the best, most fertile farmland in the entire world. And we always have to remember we have to be thinking about how we improve ag and what we can be doing. And to be here today to see this is very impressive, but also helps when I go back to Washington, D.C. when we look at a farm bill next year. We look at how do we help our ag community and our farmers in that farm bill, whether it's crop insurance, whether it's looking at regulation, whether it's looking at the RFS, how do we create more markets for our farmers? Being here today fits into how we help our farmers and our ag community.
So what did you hear from Gene and the other folks here about what they would like you to do in Washington?
Well, I think particularly when you look at, there's been a tendency to over-regulate in the ag industry. I think when you come here today and you look at what's proactively being done, from my perspective, farmers are the best stewards of their land, and getting government out of the way and letting them do what they do best, I think is what we need to do more of. And when you see the work that's being done here on their own in a proactive way, this is an initiative they've taken to do. And I think this says a lot about our ag community in doing that. And so taking that back, that our farmers are getting ahead of the curve. They're out there concerned about the environment. They're concerned about the applications they're putting on their fields, I think is a message that we need to hear more of in Washington, D.C.
I'm going to change the subject if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I was going to do the same, yeah.
Sure. So obviously the tax reform plan is just a couple days away now. How is that going to help folks here in central Illinois?
Yeah, so I'm excited about tax reform. We have not had comprehensive tax reform in this country in 31 years. And really what we do is two things with comprehensive tax reform. We give middle-class Americans a tax break. And so, when I've been traveling around my district, I come back every weekend, the middle class feel like they've been left out over the last 15 or 20 years. They've been working hard, raising their families. They've seen their taxes go up. What we've said is we're going to give middle class folks a tax break. And so we simplify the tax code, give them a tax break. 50% of this country lives paycheck to paycheck. And what we want to do is put more money in the pockets of middle class folks, more money in their paychecks so they can save up for their kids' education. Maybe it's buying a new car, maybe it's saving up for a mortgage. We think they need a break. On the other side, we give businesses and companies, whether you're a mom and pop shop here in Bloomington, maybe you're a farmer, maybe you're a contractor, we reduce your corporate and business tax rate to about 25%. We think that will help the economy. That means more money for wages, more money for employees, more money to reinvest in our local economy here. We think comprehensive tax reform will do that, and I'm optimistic if we do those things, I think that'll help the economy. Get us back to a growth rate at 3 or 4%. I think that'll help all of us.
How do you pay for all that?
Yeah, I think it's an issue that we've looked a lot at. Remember, right now we're on track this year to have 3% growth. If we have 3 or 4% growth, and I think tax reform will get us there, we'll help bring down our debt. The last time we had 3 or 4% growth was 1999, 2000. We brought our debt down to zero. We had $8 trillion. But how did we do that? A strong growth rate at 3 or 4% for a number of years. That means more people are working, more people are paying taxes. That helps bring down our debt. And I think that's the best way to pay for it. I think you also got to hold the line on spending. I was very proud to support our recent budget, balances over 10 years. We have to have fiscal discipline, so it's a combination of things. You have to have fiscal discipline, but also have more people working and the economy growing.
Will you support a tax plan that increases the deficit?
Well, listen, I think under I'm going to look at the scoring and how this is done. We're going to have those details, but I think we're on the path to having a budget that does balance and does bring down the debt.
Switching gears again, obviously the Mueller indictments were unsealed today. Talk to us about kind of your reaction to the charges that are being levied right now.
Yeah, well, I think they're serious. I spent 10 years as a state and federal prosecutor. I think the charges against Paul Manafort and his partner are serious. When you look at money laundering, you look at concealing foreign assets, you look at lying to the FBI, these are serious charges. They should be taken seriously. But when I look at the indictments today, I don't see any connection to voter fraud or election fraud or anything related to the Trump administration. But these are serious charges. And $75 million in illegal funds from Ukraine and Russia should be taken seriously. And the investigation will take its course, and the facts and evidence will lead to, I think, a proper conclusion at the end.
Okay. Here, if you've got a question, you can ask one. I had one, but I
think
forgot
that was
what
the last one I had right there.
Okay, I do have to ask, there has been some talk from the president in the past through Twitter, that sort of thing, about the potential of firing Mueller if he crosses a certain line. If that were the case, would that be a road to impeachment in your?
Well, I don't think the president should think about firing Robert Mueller. I think he's in place for a reason. Remember, the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, who was appointed by President Trump, is the one that hired Bob Mueller. Bob Mueller is a person of immense integrity, served as our FBI director. He's a former federal prosecutor. He's a Marine combat person. I think he should be given the discretion to have this investigation carried out and let the facts and evidence lead where they should. But I will also mention, this seems to be taking a lot of different tracks. Last week we heard about the uranium deal that went under, the uranium deal to Russia that happened under Hillary Clinton's watch, under Secretary of State. I think he's got to explore all avenues as related to this investigation. I just read today Tony Podesta, who is the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. He just resigned today. So I think this could take a lot of different approaches as it moves forward. But I have confidence that justice will be served in the end.
Okay, and the final topic I just want to ask you about is open enrollment starts this week. There's still efforts to repeal, replace Obamacare. Just what should people expect, and kind of what's your position going forward on the healthcare debate?
Well, I wasn't around when Obamacare was passed, but I have supported repealing and replacing it. In our district, premiums have gone up an average of 55%. None of the promises that were made with Obamacare have come to fruition. That you're going to be able to keep your doctor, you're going to have a lot more healthcare options, you're going to have low-cost health care. That hasn't happened. So we have to fix healthcare. We have to bring relief. People in our district are paying more for health insurance than they are for their mortgage, and that was never anticipated. So I voted to repeal and replace Obamacare. I would do it again. We have to bring down the cost of healthcare, and I think getting government out of the healthcare system is the first step. I think you have to bring competition in. I think you got to be able to go across state lines for insurance. You have to look at a lot of different things to help drive down the cost, but having the government mandate people to have certain type of health insurance, I think, is an approach that has not worked. And I'm optimistic that we can come up with a bipartisan solution to keep a number of the things that have worked with Obamacare. Being able to keep your kids on insurance till 26 is a good thing. Not discriminating against pre-existing conditions is a good thing. But we have to bring down the cost of health care. And we passed a bill that I think was a step in the right direction. I'm hopeful the Senate can do that. The ball is kind of in their court right now. See what they come up with, but we have to do something because Obamacare is going to fail.